Hey, everybody, good morning. I need a round of applause to everybody in Chicago that's here, right? That's fabulous. Thank you. So for those that don't know me, my name is Stuart Schlossman. I'm president and founder of MS Views and News. Though this is not an MS Views and News program. This is a Yoga Moves MS program. And that's Mindy Eisenberg over there on the right, my right, your left. And she is the one that is responsible for wanting to do this event in this area for today. I want to thank our sponsors and our exhibitors. So giving you the name of our sponsors, we have TG Therapeutics, Biogen, Bristol Myers Squibb, EMD Serono, Horizon Pharmaceuticals, Novartis, Alexion, Genentech, Amneal, who's a new company that most of you have not heard about yet, and Banner Life Sciences. So let's give them a round of applause for supporting this event. Fabulous. Okay, and this is, you can see her on the screen. She's on the top corner, the right-hand corner of the screen. That's Megan Weigel. Megan is a doctor of nurse practitioning. She's author in advanced practice, holistic nurse, multiple sclerosis nurse, and so much more. Many people around the country know Megan, and I'm really glad that she's able to be with us today. Her presentation topic is Integrative Medicine and Multiple Sclerosis, why holistic care is important in nutrition/microbiome. Megan Weigel is a nurse practitioner specializing in neurological care in Jacksonville Beach, Florida. She's been a multiple sclerosis certified nurse since 2005 and a nurse practitioner for over 20 years. She's also board certified advanced practice nurse. She earned her doctorate of nursing practice from the University of Florida, where her research emphasis on preventive health care, where she is, whatever. You know what I'm talking about, all right? I can't keep speaking. I'm getting tongue-tied here today. Megan, you could explain yourself. How's that, all right? Take it away, all right? Thank you.
Thanks for being here. I'm just thrilled to be able to join you virtually. I'm sad that I can't be there in person. I hope that you all are enjoying each other, enjoying the day, enjoying being with Mindy and Stuart, and all of the other great presenters. I just caught the tail end of the last talk, and Stuart, you're right, I'm gonna touch on a few of those things. So without further ado, we're gonna talk about integrative medicine and MS and why holistic care is important. And we're gonna think about that holistic as more of the whole, like think of the earth, it's Earth Day today. So not necessarily like, oh, things that are natural, because yes, that is part of this talk, but the whole you as a whole person. So we'll talk about facts about MS real quick. You guys have done this, typical MS treatments, and then different types of holistic care, why it matters and what the evidence is. And then we're going to talk about the fact that you are a system. You can't silo your medical problems. You just listened to an amazing physician talk about how the gut affects the brain. Oh my gosh, imagine that. The heart affects the brain. Oh my gosh, imagine that. The brain affects everything underneath it. So you can't silo your medical problems. They all affect each other. Healthy choices improve the health of your entire system. And so we're going to learn to choose wisely for your mind, your body, and your soul and spirit. You guys have listened to this today. What I'm going to talk about that's relevant to this discussion about MS is that having other problems that affect blood vessels in your body, so a vascular comorbidity, occurring at any time in the disease course of MS causes the progression to an EDSS of 6 by 6 years sooner. That means you're using an assistive device all the time, 6 years sooner, if you have diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, peripheral arterial disease, you've had a heart attack, a stroke, anything that affects blood vessels. So why is this super, super important? Because there's way more evidence for integrative medicine in those diseases than there is in MS, but MS is starting to catch up, and that is really exciting. So we're going to go into that more today. MS treatments. Well, we've got 25 disease modifying therapies, and by the time Aubagio goes generic any moment now, it's going to be 26. So we treat relapsing forms of MS and primary progressive MS with disease-modifying therapy. It's the root of your treatment. And then we manage your symptoms. Well, how do you manage symptoms? You manage them with medication, with rehabilitation strategies, with adaptive aids, and with social changes. And by that, I mean, well, if you're working full-time, maybe you need to reduce your work hours. Or if you're working in an office, maybe you need to work from home. We also manage relapses. And the most amazing thing about MS right now, compared to when I started 22 years ago in this realm, is that people don't have relapses a lot anymore because they get started on medication, really highly efficacious medication quickly, and that prevents relapses from happening. So in my practice here in Jacksonville Beach, whereas 15 years ago I might be trying to get together 5 to 10 relapse steroid prescriptions per week, now it's more like 5 a quarter. So really great job with our current disease modifying therapies doing that. But guess what else? People are so much more aware of and aligned with making changes in their general health that improves the health of their brain. So doing the right things for your mind, your body, your spirit, and your general health care keeps your roots strong, promotes adaptability, and cultivates resilience when you have multiple sclerosis. And I really totally didn't do this because it was Earth Day. I forgot that today was Earth Day until yesterday, but I made this little slide to show you that you are a tree. And your roots, if they're really strong, then they're going to help you when the rain isn't coming and you're a little dehydrated. They're going to help you when the wind's really blowing and your leaves are falling off and you just want to fall over, but you can't. They're going to help you when the sun is too hot and you need extra resources. The people around you, your support system, are actually going to help your tree to grow stronger. The flowers next to you that are using some of your resources to help themselves grow, that's you giving back and loving and serving other people. The little animals crawling around you, those are the people that need you too, just like you need them. So you are a tree. And the purpose of all of these things that I'm going to tell you today is to help keep your roots strong. This is a little excerpt from my book. One of the things that I just thought in my head, ding, 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 is that someone asked about, well, environmental toxins. Your whole last talk was about the inside and outside environment. And well, what if this and what if that? And, the thought is that it's not just one thing, it's exposure to a lot of things over time. So this is a quick quote. Each of us has a cup that we hold and can handle. Our cups, first of all, this is not in the little paragraph here, but first of all, they're filled with our genes. And we can't do anything about our genes, right? They're part of our DNA, they're who we are, but we can do things about whether or not they turn on. So with the exception of maybe a handful or two of really rare cancers and really other rare diseases, you are not your genes. So your cups, you got one, you got your genes at the bottom. And then your cups fill with all sorts of exposures and stuff as we age. They fill with illnesses, traumas, toxins, crappy food, bad air, toxic stress. These things are chronically inflammatory to our bodies, and inflammation is bad for your health. There will come a point when your cup will overflow or even tip over if all you do is put stuff in it. Overflow looks like a breakdown, a major medical illness, a smoldering problem that finally gets your attention, or any number of other life-altering events, one of which could have been your diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. So I've had several people over the years who have had their first neurological event that was the first indication of MS after a car accident or an injury or the loss of a loved one. And they say, well, did the car accident cause my MS? Did the injury cause my MS? And the answer is no, but those things cause your cups to overflow. They were already full of all the other things, the things like low vitamin D, the things like Epstein-Barr exposure, the things like obesity or diabetes or history of heart disease. And that last thing caused the screen the cup to overflow. I'm just going to check my text real quick because I'm hoping you guys can hear me okay, and if you can't, I'll get a text. So integrative medicine is a healing-oriented medicine that takes into account the whole person, and that is you as a physical, emotional, psychological, and spiritual individual. It emphasizes this therapeutic relationship between the provider and the patient, and it focuses on the least invasive, least toxic, and least costly methods to help facilitate your health. The basic tenet of it that I just absolutely love is that it maintains that healing is always possible, even when curing is not. There may be some of you in this room today or listening in that say MS is the best thing that ever happened to me. I was living completely unhealthfully. I had a horrible attitude about life. My diagnosis with MS changed my attitude around about myself, about my relationship to other people, about my spirit, and I became healthier. I became more joyful. Some of you may be saying, I have no idea what you're talking about when you say such a thing, but I want you to then just focus on it maintains that healing is always possible, even when curing is not. So this is a great table of the spectrum of different types of medicine. Conventional medicine is over on the left. It's disease focused. You have this, we prescribe you that. Alternative medicine is used in place of conventional medicine. And that's like saying, I'm going to go get bee sting therapy. I'm not going to take any medicine that my conventional doctor wants me to take. Complementary medicine uses both an alternative approach and a conventional approach. So that would be a person like me who gets regular medical care like my doctor recommends, but I also go see an acupuncturist once a month. Integrative medicine combines all of these things in a coordinated way. So for example, I practice integrative medicine. I may say that a person who has high cholesterol and is not at risk of having a coronary event, so it's not a very high risk patient, I might say, well, how about we really work together on changing your diet and adding in a couple of supplements that are safe to take with your other medications. You're still going to have to stay on X, Y, and Z, but let's try to do this before we add in another medication. Oh, and by the way, seeing an acupuncturist might help you reduce your stress level. Functional medicine questions the foundations of conventional medicine. It's a focus on systems biology. In my opinion, it's something that conventional doctors basically have looked at naturopathy and said, we should have done that. We want to do that. They don't necessarily understand it in the same way that a naturopath would, nor do they approach it in the same way that a naturopath would. It's becoming more algorithmic, and I'm not a huge fan, and I don't have a problem saying that. I'm much more of a fan of integrative medicine. I use functional medicine as a tool. So I talked a little bit about vascular comorbidities. Here are some of them listed. Why are they important? Well, we already talked about why, but they provide you with an additional opportunity to improve the state of health and wellness for your being and to empower you to make healthy lifestyle decisions. So here's an example. We do not yet have a really awesome clinical trial to tell us that eating the Mediterranean diet or eating the Walls protocol or taking ABC probiotic is going to modify the course of your MS. But we have a ton of data to tell us that following the Mediterranean diet reduces your risk of cancer, reduces your risk of heart disease, improves mood, improves fatigue. So that is empowering. Also, I like to throw in a little blip here about telomeres. Telomeres are a part of your chromosome, and when they're shorter, they're associated with higher disability and lower brain volume. This comes from Dr. Jennifer Graves' research out of San Diego. And telomere length is associated with disability progression in MS. And guess what shortens telomeres? All the crappy things like smoking, dehydration, nutrient poor diets, lack of exercise, stress, poor sleep, and infections. So we really want to try to improve the health of your whole body, to improve your vascular health and improve your brain health, and therefore we hope improve the state of your MS. These problems directly or indirectly create stress in your body that disrupts homeostasis. Homeostasis is like everything is cool and copacetic. When you don't have homeostasis, the fight or flight responses don't go away. There's immune dysregulation. Those white blood cells that shouldn't be in your brain and spinal cord, they get in because that blood-brain barrier gets tired from all the hormones assaulting it. There's inflammation, and what is primed to go awry will do so. And there's that little picture there of your cup overflowing. So let's talk about mind, body, and spirit. What can you do to, add some things in or take some things out that are going to benefit your general health? The graphic on the left is the caveman running from the tiger. So caveman's out looking for food. Tiger comes around the corner. Caveman gets flooded with adrenaline. His pupils dilate. The light comes in. The neurochemicals that are released to his body get his heart pumping fast. Everything gets shunted to the inner organs that need it so that he can run the fastest he's ever run in his life, and he can get back to his cave, and the tiger doesn't get him. And when he's back in his cave, guess what? All that stuff, it goes back to where it needs to be. His hormones go back to a resting state. His heart rate slows down. Everything's okay. Maybe he has what he needed for food, and he doesn't need to have to go out again for a few days. So the problem is that these days we are living like a caveman all the time. We are this guy on the right. He's got to exercise. He's got to sit in traffic. He's got to go to happy hour. He's got to take care of the kids. This is a he or a she, or a we or a they. Doesn't matter who it is. This is what we're all facing every single day. And guess what? We are always running from the tiger. Those stress chemicals never chill out, and they cause a state of disease. So what can we do to fix this? Well, we've got to try to make our lives more manageable. That's number one. And that causes us to have a lot of need to let go of things. So make things manageable. Make a manageable to-do list. Have support team contacts available in case you need help. Limit news watching, reading, and social media time every day. And if you're compelled to watch or read things, don't do it before bed because it'll probably make you anxious. I have actually in the past 2 weeks written more literally prescriptions to limit news time to 10 to 15 minutes twice a day than I have written for medications for anxiety or depression. You prioritize your health and you take care of it instead of letting it creep up on you. And you schedule time for your body and spirit. And what that means is, well, you need to move your body and you need to take care of your soul. And it doesn't just happen because we're all so busy. So you need to schedule that time in and make it a priority. Stress management is super important in MS because depression and anxiety are common. If you aren't asked at a provider's visit whether or not you have symptoms of depression or anxiety and you feel like you might, please share your concerns. Ways to manage stress are a multitude of things that also help improve the state of your mind. If it's disruptive to your life, talk to your healthcare provider. Newsflash here, you might not know that stress is disruptive to your life. It might be a loved one or a care partner, a support partner who's telling you, hey, are you a little stressed out right now? Meditation, mindfulness, and breathing exercises, even just that short stretch that Mindy did. It was a short, like 5 to 8 minute little yoga class, helps manage stress. Exercise, get outside. You heard a little bit in your last talk about sunshine and sunscreen. I think it is incredibly important to get outside and get real natural vitamin D without sunscreen for a little bit every day. And then you can put your sunscreen on, but you got to let it get in the natural way too. Decrease caffeine, alcohol use, sugars, and processed foods in your diet. Believe it or not, even though you're drinking all that caffeine to try to reduce your MS fatigue, it's actually causing stress on your stress hormones. Increase omega-3s and plant foods in your diet. And perhaps the most important one is learn to say no. I'm really glad that I'm able to be here virtually, because being there in person would have caused significant stress for me and my family. And it's something that I just couldn't do right now. Was it hard for me to say I can't go to Chicago? Absolutely. Mindy and Stuart know me both very well, and I love to travel. But you've got to learn to say no. It's also really important to manage your MS well. Keep regular checkups. Ask about your MRI findings. Talk about new symptoms or worsening symptoms. Talk about whether or not you're liking your disease modifying therapy. Ask about whether or not you could do more physical therapy if you feel like you've become sedentary and need some help. Do you need any referrals to see other specialists? Are there alternative therapies that could help you? And if you have an MS provider that doesn't know much about alternative therapies, I highly recommend Dr. Alan Bowling's book that Stuart already referenced. So let's move on to your body. We're moving from, I guess, top to bottom to your innards. So you've got to nourish your body, move your body, and rest your body. My general rules of thumb for nourishing your body are eat food, not too much, mostly plants. That comes from Michael Pollan. He wrote a great book called Food Rules. It's about $9.99 on Amazon. It's pretty funny. It's a quick read. You can keep it in the bathroom. You can try something in it every day, and you'll improve the health of your diet. I always say the right diet for you is the one that you will follow. So I have a list that I give to people of all the MS diets. I hate diets. I hate the word diet, but some people need to read the book and follow the plan. What you'll find with those diets, you'll see in a couple of slides, is that there's so much overlap that really you just need to pick the one that works for you. And stay out of the weeds of, if I don't do this, then I'm not going to get better. Just eat more healthy. Take a look at your daily intake. What can you take out? Can you take out soda, alcohol? In the South down here, it's sweet tea. Can you take out processed snacks and desserts? What can you put in? Can you put in a handful of greens with each meal? Can you use chia or flax seeds in oatmeal? Can you sprinkle some turmeric into your soups? Things like that. Standard American diet, also nicknamed SAD, because this is what it causes and this is what it's full of. It's full of refined foods, convenience, chemicals, fillers. It's missing nutrition. It's missing real food. It's missing variety. I know way too many women over the age of, I'm going to say 50 to 55, who think they're eating healthy because they're eating fat-free yogurt. It's actually really high in sugar. Pretzels because they're fat-free, and then a salad that is iceberg lettuce and some shaved carrots, tomatoes, ranch dressing, like literally their diet. So they might be eating a diet that's low in calories, but none of that food is nourishing their gut. And here's what happens with the brain and the gut. You got this person in the middle. You have things coming in, dripping down from the top, things from the environment, chemicals, pollution, stress. Early adverse events, early childhood adverse events are significantly important to the health of a human being later in life. These events cause the release of hormones, glucocorticoids, catecholamines, acetylcholine. These hormones help modulate your immune system, help modulate intestinal permeability, help the reflexes work correctly, and help with gut motility. Or the wrong hormones are released and none of those things are helped. And what happens? Well, inflammation in the gut, the microbiome changes, there's feedback to the brain that says something's wrong. I'm sorry, I'm moving my computer. Something's wrong down here. Something's wrong down here, brain. We have stress down here. And then in your brain, if it gets the storm message, then microglia in the brain, which are like these little trash men in the brain, they eat up everything that doesn't belong. But when that storm message happens, they also eat up things that do belong. That's where we get in trouble with our immune systems. So when we're putting in the right food, probiotics, prebiotics, or the wrong stuff like medications, long-term use of medications that hurt the gut, bacteria that's literally not good bacteria, and inflammation, we really make that storm happen. When we put in the right thing, we bring calm to the brain. So there's this real strong connection between your brain and your gut. Oh, and when you're stressed out, how many of you either have constipation or diarrhea or both? It's really simple to understand the connection between the gut and the brain. The term nervous tummy, it didn't, I don't know how much more evidence we need for something that our grandmothers have been telling us for generations. So there is now quite a bit of evidence showing up in the MS literature for what we eat having an effect on inflammation in the central nervous system. These bullet points here come from a great, really comprehensive article that Dr. Alana Katz-Sand from Mount Sinai put together. And we're looking at different types of food that have different effects in the body. So flavonoids, short chain fatty acids, foods high in polyunsaturated fats, higher, and these are all fruits, vegetables, foods high in omega-3s, all are associated with anti-inflammatory chemicals in the body. In animal models, they provide evidence for neuroprotection. Higher intake of fruits and vegetables are associated with reduced relapses and disability. Foods that are higher in fiber produce more short chain fatty acids that cause more anti-inflammatory effects. Saturated fats are pro-inflammatory. They increase interferon gamma, interleukin 6. These things are bad for the brain. Long chain fatty acids from processed foods, from seed oils, that's sunflower, safflower, grapeseed, all of these oils that, unfortunately, I hate to say this, but like you go to Trader Joe's and you think you're buying healthy food because it's at Trader Joe's and it all says it's organic, but actually it's like kale covered in safflower oil, kale covered in sunflower oil. All of these things are long chain fatty acids. They're not good for you. It's better to just put some kale in your air fryer with some olive oil and spices on it. Saturated fats, foods high in omega-6s and sugar increase your risk for vascular disease. And I've already told you what that does to MS. So here's my table for different diets and what they ask you to take out. This, as Stuart always says, will be available on the MS Views and News YouTube channel. And it actually is already up there from previous talks that I've done about integrative medicine. But I like this because you can say, I never want to give up meat. And so you just go down these diets and which one has no red meat. Well, the ketogenic diet lets you eat meat. Intermittent fasting lets you eat meat. The autoimmune diet lets you eat meat. The Walls protocol, some of you might be surprised here, says eat meat as a condiment. The Walls protocol is actually a plant-based diet. It might not be touted that way on social media, but when you actually talk to Dr. Walls, she will tell you it's a plant-based diet. If you say, I am never going to be a vegetarian, look, all that white space under vegetarian. Only the McDougall diet asks you to be vegetarian. If you say, I just hate fruits and veggies, I am never going to eat a lot of those, well, you get to try the keto diet. I don't recommend the keto diet. I'm not a fan of it. I think if you do it, you should do it under the direction of a registered dietitian. The ketogenic diet was initially evolved for the treatment of childhood epilepsy and required hospitalization. So you can see it can be a bit of a problem. Supplements. I think they were talked about a little bit in the last talk, but this is just my opinion about them. I'll give it briefly. People take too many supplements, period. People take too many supplements without guidance, and supplements can result in drug supplement disease interactions, and or financial harm. Supplements are dumped into unhealthy guts that can't absorb them, and it's better to eat what you need. A plant-based diet that is high in fiber helps the body make anti-inflammatory chemicals that support your central nervous system. A safe supplement that alleviates a symptom can create an environment for healing. And what I mean by that is, well, if you're constipated and there's no contraindication to taking magnesium, and you take magnesium and you become no longer constipated, your gut healthies up a little bit. And then maybe you can eat foods that you weren't tolerating before. And then maybe you can absorb a supplement that you might want to take. Probably safe and helpful. Vitamin D3, definitely safe and helpful in MS, but it's important to measure it. Alpha lipoic acid or R-lipoic acid is currently being studied in progressive MS. There have been improvements in walking speed. If you have renal problems, you should not take it. I mentioned magnesium. Everyone should have B vitamins measured before they start taking them because you might not need them. And then a good quality multivitamin, multimineral if your diet is not well balanced. Should be individualized. This is right where I came into the talk when she said, I have a feeling that recommending probiotics will become more individualized over the years. I feel the same way. Different probiotics do different things, whether you have constipation or diarrhea or mental health issues. And so that will probably be individualized as we know more about things. CBD, again, individualized. I'm a bigger fan of a higher CBD to THC ratio. So at least starting out with 8-to-1, which is probably twice what they'll give you at a cannabis store. And then adaptogens. Adaptogens are things like ashwagandha, holy basil, eleuthero. Move at your best time of day. Empty your bladder and bowels before you move if you can. Use cooling equipment and drink cool fluids during your movement. And split up exercise if you need to. The cardiovascular benefits are the same. Involve your family and friends. Mindy and I have been able to get our yoga programs virtually, working virtually together, and the virtual yoga experience is amazing. As someone who has been a part of the transition from live yoga to virtual live yoga, being with people virtually feels really great, just like being with people physically, although we do still miss the physical stuff. We're really happy to have things virtual. Rest your body. Avoid electronics for at least an hour before bed. If you're using one to help you sleep with like an app or something, put a blue light blocker on it. I already talked about things to avoid before sleep. And then creating a calming ritual before bed. You don't just want to go from, 90 miles to nothing. It's not going to work. So maybe a gratitude journal. Maybe you do some gentle stretching that you've learned from one of the yoga moves in OMS yoga classes. Maybe you have an essential oil that diffuses lavender that helps you sleep. Maybe if you don't have bladder issues at night, you use some decaf herbal tea. Stu's telling me how much time I have. Little does he know I have a timer set. So we're going to finish out here with spirit. So we're going inward. We've done mind. I guess mind is inside. We've done body, but your spirit, it's inside, but it's also outside, because what we are in here in our soul is actually projected to other people. I encourage everyone to start your day with a positive affirmation. Even if it's today's going to be a good day. I'm going to smile today. I'll have lots of energy today. Something that you want to happen. Or I love people, something like that. Make time for mindfulness or meditation. These are apps that I like. Exercise your creativity. Color, paint, arrange flowers, plant a garden, play with your kids or your grandkids, your nieces, your nephews. Do jewelry, do diamond art, crochet, build things, anything that you can do that helps your soul and your brain work together. Remember to breathe, connect with people you love, and consider energy healing. I consider acupuncture to be a bit of energy healing, but other forms are things like therapeutic touch, Reiki, neuroemotional technique, acupressure, the Feldenkrais method. There are lots of different types of energy healing. I'm going to end with a couple of things here. The first one is another saying about healing. A cure is a medical procedure that reliably helps you recover from illness. Healing is an inner process through which the human organism seeks its own recovery, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And I know it's been fast today, but I hope that you can leave here with a couple of tools to start creating your own recovery. Here's a little mindfulness tool for you. The acronym is STOP. So you're going to stop. This is how you can be in the moment. You stop what you're doing, that's the S. You take a few deep breaths, that's the T. You observe what you're feeling and name your emotions, that's the O. And then you proceed with what you need, that's the P. A good example is a red light. Red lights used to get in my way before I learned how to deal with my anxiety. And so now when a red light gets in my way, I can stop and I can say, I feel like this red light's in my way right now. I'm going to take a few deep breaths. I'm feeling a little anxious. I think everything's still going to get done. Anxiety doesn't serve me. I think I'll turn on my favorite song right now. So that's just one way to be mindful, be in the moment, and not get taken out, not let that tiger start chasing you. I also was sent this quote by my best friend the other day. I love quotes, if you guys can't tell. There's so much talk about happiness and how to be happy and all of these other things. Sometimes it feels like self-defeating and something that you might never ever meet. And so I wanted to share this with you. Wholeness is what we ought to be striving for. And part of that is sadness, disappointment, frustration, failure. All of those things which make us who we are. Happiness and victory and fulfillment are nice little things that also happen to us, but they don't teach us much. Everyone says we go through pain, and then as soon as they experience pain, they say, quick, move on, cheer up. I'd like just for a year to have a moratorium on the word happiness and to replace it with the word wholeness. Ask yourself, is this contributing to my wholeness? And if you're having a bad day, it is, and that's okay. And now that you can see, the tiger for what it really is, and that's the image there. So make friends, make peace with that stress. Let it sit in your lap. Figure out how to calm it down. Figure out how to manage it. One step at a time, one day at a time, 1 minute at a time. When you treat the spirit, you treat the whole being. And in my opinion, integrative medicine is the practice that truly merges mind and spirit with body. Now, Stuart's been kind enough to let me share with you a little trailer for the book that I wrote. It was released in September. It's called Monday Mantras with Megan. It's a really easy way to add in some mindfulness to your life. Some of you may be following the Mindful Moments podcast that Can Do MS does. That's me. We use these mantras in the podcast, but I'm just going to go ahead and share that trailer and I'll be done on time.
Hi, I'm so happy you're here and I'm excited to tell you something. Monday Mantras with Megan should not feel difficult, and the journey isn't meant to be perfect. The fact that you're here tells me you're ready. Read below and start your journey.
Everybody thank Megan for being here. All right, the first one is, tell us more about Tylenol, Advil, and which is better for the gut.
Well, I would say that in general, Tylenol is safer for the GI tract, harder on the liver. NSAIDs like Advil, ibuprofen, Aleve, naproxen are harder on the GI tract. They increase the risk for bleeding, and they are harder on the kidneys before they are harder on the liver. Long-term use is actually associated with hypertension, kidney disease. So, if you have pain on occasion and you don't have a contraindication to taking either one, then you take the one that works best for you. If you're taking either one around the clock, you should probably talk to your provider about it.
Next question for you from online, Mindy, is a person that asked this question earlier, but was probably more needing to ask you. What can you tell us about intermittent fasting?
Okay, so I think that's a great question. And unlike Dr. Block, I had the time to Google it while she was talking, so I didn't just Google it. I went into the PubMed literature to see what has been published so far in MS, and actually intermittent fasting has been associated with improvement in fatigue and some general MS symptoms. They've looked at reducing daily reduction of calories versus different types of intermittent fasting. And daily reduction of calories seemed to have a greater effect on symptoms, probably because it resulted in more weight loss than intermittent fasting. But in general, there's a thought that is one way to help kind of stress the body a little bit. So it's a little bit used to stress and it performs better under stressful situations. Therefore, there's less inflammation. You should not intermittent fast if you have diabetes without talking to your healthcare provider first. And also, you really just have to be careful with fatigue and with mood when it comes to intermittent fasting.
Okay.
Might I also add real quick, ancient forms of medicine, like Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, recommend that you eat dinner early in the evening and that you don't eat again until the morning. And so actually just that pattern is a 12 to 13 hour overnight fast, which in my opinion is reasonable. And about as long as a person should be fasting for long periods of time.
Thank you. Two more questions from online, then the audience. What can you tell us about turmeric supplement for use in your diet?
Maybe a supplement versus use in your diet. So you would have to eat, I think it's about 2 tablespoons of turmeric multiple times a day to get to the amount that you're getting in a supplement. You can, I don't know if any of you have seen the cinnamon challenge. It's sort of silly, but I imagine turmeric would do something similar if you tried to eat that much. But you can cook with it. You can put it in your diet by cooking with it, by sprinkling it in soups and salads, using it in sauces. You can actually slice the root. It looks like a ginger root, and boil it. Drink it as a tea. But taking a supplement certainly is easier. If you take a supplement with black pepper or biopurine, it helps the turmeric get absorbed better into, like, for use in the whole body, versus if you just take turmeric without that, then it stays in the gut, which can be helpful for gut issues. But I tend to recommend, if you're taking it for anti-inflammatory purposes or for pain, that you take one with biopurine or black pepper.
Great, thank you. Next, have you studied the impact of mushrooms such as lion's mane on the brain?
I have not personally studied lion's mane mushroom. I have looked it up in my supplement literature, and I see that it's a very interesting fungus, very interesting plant, I guess you could call it. It does seem to have effects on the immune system. They do seem to be anti-inflammatory. I don't currently know of any studies going on in multiple sclerosis, but to be honest, I just haven't looked. There are so many rabbit holes to go down in the supplement world that I tend to look for things that, I tend to look at supplements as, could they be safe? Could they be harmful? Are they expensive? Lion's mane doesn't appear to be extremely expensive. It could potentially be safe for short-term use. I'm not sure about long-term use. And that's about what I know about it. I just know it's really in vogue right now in all types of autoimmune disease.
Thank you very much. Next person.
Yeah.
Hi. The question is how to get started. Like, if you have never really done integrative medicine, do you ask your primary care for a referral for integrative, such as you, or just go? I mean, how to get started on this?
Yeah, well, so it's helpful to know in the community who is practicing. There are a couple of websites that you can look at. I recommend the University of Arizona Andrew Weil Center for Integrative Medicine. That's where I did my fellowship. And you can search according to city and state to see who's close to you, a physician or a nurse practitioner or PA that has done an integrative medicine fellowship. There's also the Institute of Functional Medicine. Again, though they're not practicing integratively. It's a kind of a totally different system. You might talk to, depending on your state, a naturopathic doctor. ND is how they are usually identified, that would be willing to work with your conventional medical doctors. That's a good place to start. Choosing something like acupuncture might be a good place to start.
Next question. Thank you.
Sure.
Hi, thank you. In utilizing mindfulness or breathing techniques for that holistic care, have you observed any effect on that gut-brain axis, that relationship between the gut-brain from mindfulness and breathing? And if you did it affect any of the MS symptoms like pain, mood, fatigue?
Yeah, so like Dr. Block said, I personally do not do research at this level. So I'm sharing other people's research. One of the slides that I just forgot to put it in the deck, but it's been I think it was in the last one I did for Stuart, is this polyvagal theory. So your vagus nerve is one of your cranial nerves, and it actually has a branch that sits in your gut. And so that practicing mindfulness, practicing meditation, calming down your heart rate so it can tell the brain to chill out. It doesn't have to run from anything anymore. And so then the brain in turn can tell the gut that it doesn't have to be nervous, so to speak. Without a doubt, there's an improvement in stress. In MS, there has been research looking at mindfulness and meditation, and specifically what was studied, it was pain and anxiety. And so mindfulness and meditation in these studies have been shown to decrease pain and anxiety. I think long-term, with a very, I'd call it a rigorous meditation practice, long-term, you could probably see some improvement in cognition, but that hasn't been studied.
Thank you. There's a question online that I don't quite get, but I'll try to get it out anyway. What was the MS offering about mindfulness?
Oh, yeah. So Can Do MS, it's cando-ms.org, has a podcast. And on Mondays, the podcast is called Mindful Moments. And it's about 5 to 10 minutes of guided meditation that I do.
Okay. Any other questions in the audience? Wow. Couldn't get me while I was back there? Megan, you're going to have to talk for a few moments. Oh, by the way, Megan, I really wish I was in Florida right now because they have a freeze warning here tonight.
Oh, no.
Imagine that. End of April. All right, I'm here.
Did you recommend any particular supplement for pain, mostly associated because of gait issues like pain in your hips or in the heels of your feet, things like that?
So, like more joint pain?
Joint. Yeah, I guess. And it feels like it's joint.
Yeah, joint pain. So, turmeric is a good one. Turmeric is curcumin is the root. There have been studies that have compared curcumin, turmeric with Aleve. And they've shown that with long-term use, turmeric works just as well as Aleve for pain, like you're describing. Other supplements that can be helpful for joint musculoskeletal type pain are MSM. It's a sulfur-based supplement, so if you have a sulfur allergy, you can't take that. Omega-3 fish oil has also been shown to be helpful for pain. There's a supplement called ASU, and it's avocado soy unsaponifiables. It's Arthrocin is the brand name. Some people find that very helpful. Quercetin and bromelain can be helpful for joint pain. So there's a lot that can be helpful. I did a talk on pain for the University of Florida. If you Google my name and University of Florida pain, I bet you can find the talk, and there's a list of supplements in there.
Okay, thank you, Megan. Today's sponsors were TG Therapeutics, Biogen, Bristol Myers Squibb, EMD Serono, Horizon, Novartis, Alexion, Genentech, Amneal, and Banner Life Sciences. And again, we want to thank all of them, right? Also, the person who created this whole thing, Mindy. I'm going to say goodbye to you all right? Have a good one. Thank you.